Thank you for tuning in. We are Tristin and Michael, and you are listening to Fuse, transparent conversations for marriage, family, and relationships. We invite you to join us as we discuss topics that are thought about but not talked about, so tell your friends and family to check us out. And as always, join us on all of our socials as well as our website, fusedmarriages.com.
You did that so beautifully. That was like amazing.
Thank you.
That introduction, I mean, you just kind of like just set the stage.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For y'all that are watching Pivot, that have seen Pivot, you may have kind of got this and like, okay, what are they talking about? But anyway, but y'all we do this too. We do podcasts, marriage stuff.
Oh, you're talking about people that tune
stuff.
into Pivot and didn't know
they were like, what is, hold on, I'm confused.
Yeah.
But yes, we are the ones that we created Pivot, right? What?
Nothing. You're just entertaining me right now. Go ahead.
Okay. We created Pivot. So appreciate you guys for watching. This is another kind of spin on a segment of life that we kind of exploring as well. But
or people that watch this and found Pivot.
Or vice versa. Yeah. Very true. So check
thank
out
y'all.
Pivot if
thank
you haven't
y'all for watching, tuning in to all of our things, all of our projects, all of our ways that we want to connect and communicate with you and really create impact. Yep.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So you very aptly titled today's show. And I'm really curious. I say this every time, but I'm really curious to see like what direction.
People stop being curious because you always like really curious. Like,
no, always be curious.
Okay.
Yeah, always be searching and thinking and considering. Be that.
Go ahead. I'm with you.
Yeah. So I am curious about what direction today's show is going to be because our conversation today surrounds this title, the #1 communication pitfall.
That we believe.
We'll see.
Somebody else maybe thinks something different, but we feel pretty strongly about it.
We'll see where it goes today. So up and away.
Oh, that's how you toss it. You normally do some other setup before that. Like you kind of like that's how we doing it today.
Yeah, I mean, yes, this is the conversation we're having, and I'm wondering what it's going to look like based on our relationship, genders, hearing from people. In the comments section, we always invite you to join in on the conversation. So let's make it happen.
Okay, that's how you tossing it. You used to give me alley-oop. That's kind of like a bounce
alley-oop?
pass. That's a bounce pass, and I got to go do some work to kind of like get it, you know.
Listen, you a baller, you can do it.
I can, but, you know, every now and again, people like an assist that's like this easy. You just kind of just do what you got to do with it. But it's okay, though. You're right. They don't understand the analogy with basketball and all that kind of stuff.
Who doesn't? They don't?
They may not. Everybody may not be, you know, they may not understand that kind of language. But typically, she gives me like a nice, easy lob to kind of.
Are we going to spend the whole first half of the show talking?
Can I tell my part?
All right, go ahead.
Give me a nice, easy, just kind of just an assist to kind of like lead into the next discussion.
I gave the title.
Yeah. You need me to get more than that, but it's cool.
See, somebody stole the ball, took a shot.
Cool. It's cool.
Now we down 10-0.
No, it's cool.
All right. What's up?
All right. So you mentioned, I think we said it though, right? We're going to at least claim it. The #1 relation to communicate. What is it? What's the topic? I forgot.
The #1 communication pitfall. Now, this #1 thing is controversial.
Yeah.
But we're going to see why. So go ahead. Come on, man.
Okay. Why you pushing me? I'm trying to make sure I get the title right and everything. I want to make sure I get it right.
You titled
the #1 relationship communication pitfall. I just want to make sure I get it right. That's why I asked you to kind of help me out. That's all. The #1 relationship communication pitfall. It might be having it right now. Just maybe. Just maybe, you know what I mean? So, but the #1 relationship communication pitfall is what we believe is. We think there's 2 types of people. You laughing, so she's gonna let me just go solo. It's okay though. If y'all listen to this on podcast, go watch YouTube.
It's happening right now. It really is. So go ahead.
Yeah. So the #1 relationship communication pitfall. Just crack it up. They trying to wait when they gonna get to it. It is the first one is. There's 2 of them. There's 2 things that need to be considered.
Okay.
The first one is there are people that process before they actually speak, right? And you know, and then you have people that actually process as they speak.
Right.
This often causes some serious clashing.
Yes.
right? And we're going to talk about some examples and stuff that we've been
you
through.
just saw the example.
That we've seen. Yeah, it was, right? Because you're saying I was processing.
You were trying to process before you spoke.
Before I spoke, I was trying to process.
And I tossed you the ball and you weren't ready.
Yeah, see, that was a prime example right there.
Today's
she
show.
Tossed it to me. I process. So, for example, I process before I speak.
Yeah.
And this is a scenario that did happen in real time. We did not script that or anything like that.
It was funny to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't expecting, I thought it was going to be some more kind of like, a little bit of dialogue back and forth before I just got tossed into it. Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to process before I say something. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to listen to what you're saying and this, that, and the other.
This is what happens
and in my whole head.
when you don't have your note card.
No, that has nothing to do with note card. This has to do with real life.
Okay.
Let's do it real life, because in actuality, I was going to process a little bit more as you were talking to kind of figure out, okay, here's how she's going to go into the topic.
Yeah.
But when you said, oh, here we go, it's you, I needed about like 15 seconds to kind of process some thoughts before I spoke. That's just my preference. I can do it otherwise, but I might sound a little awkward like some of y'all that process as you talk, because y'all that a little dig a little bit, right? Just a little bit. Hopefully y'all ain't too offended about that. I'm sorry.
I'm not. I'm good with me.
But somebody out there may be offended. I don't want to be.
That's all right.
That was kind of offensive, but I did it on purpose. But the idea of y'all process as you talk, and that irritates me a little bit. I'll be honest with you.
Okay, so let's break down these two categories. So the categories are the person that processes as they are speaking. So they're working out how they feel or what they think about a topic as you are talking about the topic. Yeah. So this would be the person that, they say like, hey, I need to talk. And as they're talking, they're saying, well, this is how I feel about it and everything. They may or may not need necessarily your contribution to the conversation.
Right, which I don't understand that.
Okay, well, I'm just telling
you. I know, I'm going to give another side. I'm just saying, I know you're talking about.
So they're the ones that are like, that's a me. I'm that person. I am her. Who, as I'm talking about something, I'm processing it. These are also people that are really good at journaling. Not to say anybody else isn't, but as you're journaling, you're figuring out, oh, that's how I feel about it, or that's what I think about it. These people tend to be people that can really get out their emotions, but they also can say things that they don't necessarily mean as they're processing. So when you're upset, for example, you might say something and be like, that's not really how I feel, but now it's out because you were processing as you talked. On the other hand, there is the person that processes prior to speaking. So they might be the person in a debate or an argument and be like, I don't have nothing to say. And be like, you don't have anything to say. This is a major conversation, but they don't have anything to say because they have not yet processed how they feel. They tend to be more cautious and careful as they evaluate what they're saying. The challenge with that then is when they say something, then that's generally pretty close to either how they feel or what they think or what they're going to do. That's true. They tend to be a little more immovable. They're not generally swayed because they've already decided. That person can also really have a hard time allowing other people's perspective in because they've already processed. They know what they think, they know where they stand, and now you're bringing something to them. You're bringing something to them, and it's going to take them a harder time to digest that thing because they've already come to a conclusion. Such is our life. So I have, I guess a caveat, at least for me and how I see myself and how I'm growing in marriage and in the world, is that I am much more careful with my words because I know that my words can be very pointed. This is careful. You remember what it was in the early days.
I didn't say anything.
Your face. So anyway, I have been more careful. Now I have a propensity to like that. Don't cross me, like, because I'm doing my best. It's not as much with you as it has been in the past, but it's like, don't cross me because I have a propensity. If you don't push me because I'm close to the edge, that's okay. And then you're going to hear all of the things that I actually that I think. So it's all an adjustment.
Yeah, I'm about to say, where you gonna go with it?
No, it's all an adjustment, because you have to be self-aware, and you also have to. And we're sharing this in the terms in this conversation when we talk about partnership, because it's important to know your partner's propensity. Which side they end on, so that you can have conversation that isn't directed at the other person's personality or weaknesses, but it's addressing the issue or the challenge at hand. Because what can happen? What?
Nothing. I got some thoughts. But go ahead. I'm good.
So you sitting there thinking, you ready?
No, I got thoughts.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm good.
Because what can happen is the person that's processing a challenge, like let's say you have a difficult scenario that you're dealing with. It can become, well, we need to talk about this right now. And the person that needs to think about it can be withholding as they're processing. And then you're in a debate about how somebody is functioning in the world versus the actual topic, which can lead to resentment, it can lead to frustration, it can lead to arguments, when really it should lead more to understanding, where both people have to meet in the middle. You might not get the answer right now, but we can't wait 2 weeks. So let me hear what you think.
No, I think you did a good job at first by giving the definitions between. I didn't do a good job, I guess, since you kind of really cleaned it up a lot bit. Okay. Well, anyway, so she cleaned my definitions up. I liked your definitions.
Thanks, babe.
By the way, I have a question and a recommendation, if that's possible. I don't know if you can have that in the same.
Sure, let's go.
So the question and recommendation is, maybe kind of jumbled a little bit, but hopefully you can track with it. So as a person, that you know, that processes as you are talking, right? Would it be possible for people of your kind of I don't know what do you group? What do you dialect? I don't know what
dialect.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can say group. People that process that way.
People that process that way. Instead of saying like, "Hey, we need to talk," you should be like, "Hey, we need to think." Because that's what's happening. It's not necessarily, because it's confusing from my perspective. When we need to talk, I'm like, okay, you got a real nice, clear thought that you want to talk about, and in reality, we come to the table, we're actually thinking.
Yeah.
But from this side of the room, it comes across as like, hey, this is going to be a nice, clear, clean conversation.
Because I've already thought about what I want to say.
Right. Because somebody like you would bring, hey, we need to talk. But reality, you saying you need to think.
Okay, I'm done with that. I'll start talking.
And I don't know. I mean, y'all can, people that kind of think that way or kind of act. You know, was that possible to kind of maybe help? Right. At least say, hey, you know what? The things I want to think about
with you.
Yeah, with you.
Out loud.
Mm-hmm. And maybe that allowed me to say, I want to think about some things. I haven't fleshed it all out, but I want you part of it. For that case, that does bring down our defensiveness. Because now we're saying, okay, it's not that she, because y'all say it like, we need to talk, right?
Y'all it's not aggressive like that necessarily, but it can come off.
It is aggressive.
It depends.
I'm not trying to point it at you, so if you throw
I'm not feeling anything.
I'm just saying
it depends.
It is aggressive. I'm saying 98% of the time, people.
It's very specific.
That is. On purpose. The fact that, because whenever you guys need to process, y'all always say, not saying you as in Tristin, but you as in the people group, you that process this way, you say, you know what, we need to talk. Like, and it's like an aggressive, like, I got to get this out. And we don't know that now. I know it now because I'm learning. But that's reality, is that you're saying we need to talk because I can't hold this in because I gotta process it out loud. But it comes across as like, we need to talk. And we're like, and me, from my standpoint, or people like we're like, okay, hold on. Like, I mean, what I do? And really, we haven't done anything. You just really need me to step up to the plate and just be a part of your process.
Okay. And
that's very different from saying, hey, we need to talk. Because that typically is like me, like, okay, a thought is come up, or a situation's come up, and she has something to say about it. And maybe you do have something to say about it, but you're thinking through what you want to say, how you feel about it, this, that, and the other.
Okay.
And it's confusing from time to time for us to deal with that.
That's interesting.
That's pretty good.
It's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a different, I love hearing different perspectives, because one of the things I think is important in all relationships is that it can't just be, this is how I am. And and you just have to deal with the me that is, you know? And so I think hearing how am I being perceived based on your experience, and then couple that with what my intention is, and ensuring that, okay, what I'm intending is not being, is not being thwarted by how I'm saying it or what I'm saying. You know, all of that matters, as well as something that you just pointed out is the tone that we need to talk. And I think the tone can be 100% reinforce what you're saying. So if somebody that processes out loud says like, hey, we need to talk about something, it might still give the same kind of feeling of like, okay, she or he has something on their mind, and they might still have an expectation that you're just sharing what it is that you've been thinking about, but at least the disposition of the person won't be like upended where they're like, oh man, they need to talk. Like it might be like, all right, what's going on? It might actually trigger something more like worry.
Can I tell you what happens though? As you guys are talking it out, right? We're trying to track with you. Then we get confused because we're not realizing literally you're talking it out at the time.
Okay.
We're thinking like this is all one. We're like, hold on, what? Huh? And we're trying to, and literally like there's pieces you put here, and well, you know, you talk about this over here, and you're in the real time. You put it all together, but we're not realizing that. I mean, I'm starting to understand it as of today. I would do better tomorrow, y'all. But I mean, for real, I do. But we get lost.
And I think what's interesting about that is on the other side of things, people that don't speak until they have it figured out. No, I'm not. I'm just saying people that don't speak until they have it figured out, we don't feel like we're included in some of like the like who you are. Like it's just like, hey, this is it. So especially when it comes to big decisions, hey, I've already figured this out. I've already thought about it. It's done. And then there's like you don't necessarily feel as connected because why are you laughing?
No, my mind is going all over the place. Go ahead though.
Because part of people like me that processes they think, there's a trust that's there. There's something that's there that makes me feel like I can come to you and I can share these things, how I'm processing, how I'm thinking. And this can be on any number of good or bad things. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's bad. It can be something like, oh, I'm thinking about doing this great thing, and if I did this. So somebody that doesn't do that might have more of a propensity to be internal. And this is not an introvert extrovert thing either. This is just like a processing. How do you process information? If you're processing something that's happened, and depending on how long you take to process it, depending on the thing, like that can cause a grievance. Because it's like, well, how long have you been thinking about this? Well, why didn't you say anything before? Well, you're like, I don't know. I've been thinking about it. So then there's kind of this feeling of I'm on the outside. Maybe you don't trust me, or maybe there's somebody else that you trust more, or why didn't you include me in any of this? I'm feeling in the dark here. So what are your thoughts about that?
No, you're 100% right. I can definitely, you kind of have taught me, and we kind of discussed about, hey, me processing things kind of on the outside and coming back to you with, hey, here's my response, or here's my decision, or here's my whatever. Because I didn't thought about, executed, research, and looked up, hey, here's the car we're going to get. And you're like,
that really happened.
Where am I at? I'm not thinking of making it up for them.
No, I'm just saying, they have to understand. My husband bought a car. This is several years ago. I didn't know about the car.
I researched it, y'all. I did all my homework, but I did not talk about it.
I knew nothing until we got the car. And actually, that's not true. He showed the car, and I said I didn't like it. Then he went and bought it anyway. And he's like, I did. Well, it had good ratings. So I was like, I said I didn't like it. So
what's it like? I do it rating. We looking for the long term here. That's my thing. Anyway, but it should have been a discussion, y'all.
But the point is now, it took me a long time. We made those car payments. I was upset every month. Yeah. But it took a long time only because for you had already done what you've considered to be due diligence. You had come to the conclusion that this is the best decision for the family based on your processing. But I think in that, if we're looking at solutions, then it really takes patience on both sides. Because for me to communicate with you, like, even if I'm communicating my thoughts, I want feedback. So I'll be like, oh yeah, this is what I'm thinking. I think that we should do this and da 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 da. And I'll look to you and you won't have anything to say because you're thinking about it. And then you'll come back or I'll come back to you. Hey, I talked about this and this is what we're doing. And you know, so there's the need for some interaction. And then on the opposite side for you, maybe not in that scenario, but for you, there's this kind of need for, okay, I need to process the information. So you're going to have to don't ask me something that needs to happen tomorrow. Ask me about something that needs to happen 2 weeks from now so that I can process, give a little bit of time. Would you agree with that, or any other tips that you might have for people that are in this sort of relationship? Right.
Now, to be honest with you, I would think probably majority relationships are built this way, where one person is processing kind of internally and coming with a response, and the other one is kind of maybe the more talkative and talking out loud and kind of coming to the table like, hey, let's talk about this. And there's this clash because they're very, very different. And if you don't even recognize that, you're thinking like, man, they don't love me, or she pushing me, or he pushing me to talk more, or whatever.
Pushing me away. They're not talking.
They're not talking enough. And no, you just wired different. And I think we're talking about self-awareness a lot, but recognizing that, like, hey, they just built different. Not one is right or wrong. And don't get me wrong, you can't be all of anything. I can't be always processed internally. You can't be always talking things through. We both have to we may have a lean to one side or the other, but we have to come to the middle, a lot of times as well.
Yeah. So some tools that we've used and that we've counseled other people to use is writing. So there's lots of dynamics to this, but one of them is when you have conversations and you have something you want to process out loud. For those of us that process as we speak or as we communicate, maybe having a couple bullet points that you want to share, not 30, but maybe like 3. Okay, I want to talk about these 3 things in this conversation, and then give it a break. When we have our business, you all know that we have our annual business meetings, just the 2 of us, where we really plan out what our year is looking like from a business perspective, family, finance, all of those things. And when we do that, we actually have a big board that we write things on, but we take it in chunks. So maybe that's another kind of tool, is not trying to address or talk through everything all at once. You can't talk about, the kids and the vacation and the holiday and the birthday party and, the bills all in one sitting, even though it might all need to be talked about.
Right.
Scheduling in some breaks, talking in bullet points. Any other ones? There was another one that was on my mind and it just kind of slipped away.
No, I think you did cover a lot, and I know I like the business meetings that we have.
Yeah,
I think the approach to that, it just helps, and we try to mix the styles sometime, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I may give you, hey, think about this, and we'll come back. I'll give you the thought ahead of time, or sometimes, hey, we're gonna have this discussion right now. Yeah. And I think we both do a good job of at least trying to bend to one or the other, so that we know what, you don't feel isolated and you always got to be, we got to process 2 weeks later, or I got to come back, I got to talk about it right now, everything. And I think that helps, at least is helping us. I'm going to say we arrived anywhere yet, but it's helping us to kind of really communicate better as well.
I think another thing is leaning into the gifting of your partner. So Michael is he can make the charts and the graphs and much more technical. And I like the vision. I like, hey, this is what I see, this is what we can do, and then he'll break it down. So I think that even helps in conversations when I'll say, hey, we need to talk about the kids and the extracurricular activities. This is what I'm looking into. And then Michael will be like, all right, let me see if that lines up with some of the other things that we have going on. Let's manage this. What would this look like in actuality? So I think that some of those things are really beneficial. It helps us work as a team. Yeah. So the goal, obviously, for all of us is the teamwork, the synergy between the partners. And that's really maximizing each other's gifting and who they are, and not letting that become a point of contention, but really appreciating. I can appreciate that Michael thinks deeply about so many things. That also reassures me in a lot of ways, because I know, and this might be a little sentimental, but I know that when Michael looks at me and he says, I love you, I know it's not just like, oh, it's just something he's feeling at the moment. No, that's like something that he's been deeply considering. I know that the projects that he invests in and the things that he does, he's going to be really committed to because he's weighed it out. And he knows when I'm talking and I'm processing, and as I get these things out, he also can recognize, man, my wife really trusts me. She's sharing with me all of these inner thoughts as she's thinking through them. I don't do that with everybody. And most of us don't, but him recognizing that he's a safe space for me to kind of explore how I'm feeling. And so it builds our relationship versus tearing it down. But that's not to say that it hasn't been challenging in our past, and even as we continue in each stage to learn what that looks like. So I would just say that if you find yourself in these dynamics, celebrating that thing in your partner and figuring out, okay, how can this make us better? Because we're together for a purpose, with a purpose, instead of it tearing us apart. So I'll give you the last word on this. What are your thoughts?
I think you did an excellent job of closing. I'll say this one thing right here though: do not kill each other for being who they are. Right? I think, or I say kill each other. I don't mean that literally, but the idea of like, hey, you thinking something's wrong with them because they process a little bit slower, or they.
It's not slower. It's just not articulating it.
They take time to kind of really come to a conclusion of how they were going to respond, or vice versa. They need to talk it out right there and need that. Just, you know what? I think we can always come to a happy medium to hopefully like, hey, you know what? Y'all are together for a reason. Y'all process differently, which is cool. And it's going to benefit in other times, and from one side, it's going to benefit other times on the other side. So just got to come together on that.
Yeah. Really good. I have more things on this, but we'll close out today's show because I think that's important, is recognizing that that this pitfall is there, but there are options and opportunities to overcome them so that you can be better in your relationship and in your marriage. So thank you for that. Why are you smiling?
I just like you look amazing.
All right, y'all. We're ending today. We're ending today's show. Thank you all for tuning in today. Please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Check out all of our socials as well as our website, fusedmarriages.com. And as always, let's talk about it.